So last night, Aew Dynamite accomplished something that, they should be, very proud of. And that is the fact that they surpassed Monday Nitro, WCW Monday Nitro, as the longest running weekly primetime wrestling show on the Turner Networks. So big ups to them on that. Now, I know some people might say, well, what about WCW Saturday Night? Well, the thing about WCW Saturday Night is it would air at 6:05 Eastern, 5:05 Central, but it would also air, from what I understand, at 4:05 and 3:05 Mountain and Western. So it would air simultaneously all at once, just at one time only. And it didn't really, I guess, justify as being prime time since it was at the 6:05 hour. But prime time basically justifies being like at 8 o'clock or 7. So take that as you will. But anyway, they accomplished that feat. And again, big ups to them. But I do have to put an asterisk next to it. I do. And that asterisk is because of the fact that, yes, they did surpass Nitro as the Nitro and Thunder, as the longest running show on the Turner Networks. Even Collision is on the verge of surpassing Thunder as the secondary show, the sister show, if you will, to Dynamite. Just like Thunder was the sister show to Nitro, Collision is the same way to Dynamite. So Collision, as far as we know, is on the verge of doing that themselves. But to get back on point, when I say we have to put an asterisk next to that despite as big of an accomplishment as it was, and it had a good show to go with it. As a matter of fact, there are those that have been critical about AEW's booking and all that as of late, that basically said that last night, this spring breakthrough show for Dynamite felt like the old AEW again. It felt like the old feeling that made AEW a true alternative was back, at least for one night. Now the only question is, can they keep that up going forward? Tonight with Collision, a special Thursday night Collision, because the NBA playoffs are on Saturday, so they have to move to Thursday. Although they could have done Friday, but I think somebody's finally getting in Tony's ears and being like, yeah, Friday's not a good idea either, and Thursday you're pretty much going up against TNA Unbreakable, so you might have a chance, but we'll see. Unbreakable might outdo them as well. They moved to Thursday night for this 1 week. They moved to Thursday night for this 1 week due to the playoffs, and also due to the fact that it is, WrestleMania week, and they want to have at least 1 week, or at least 2 nights in a row, to try to get people's eyes back on that product. But be that as it may, like I said, I have to put a bit of an asterisk next to the accomplishment, because even though they did hit that monumental mark, and nothing can take that away from them, they did it on a network that was different from where they originally started. Let me explain. You see, when they originally started Dynamite, they started it on TNT. That's right. Where Collision is right now, they started it on that very network. So overall, when it comes to the Turner Networks, yes, they did surpass Nitro and even Thunder overall when it came to both Turner Networks. But asterisk-wise, they didn't do it on a singular network of Turner. They did it on 2. They had to move Dynamite to TBS from TNT. So that's the asterisk. And I know people might say, oh, that's not a big deal. That's not a big issue. And you might be right. It probably isn't a big deal. It's probably not something to really just say, oh, that's not going to, affect, the success, this occasion that they're celebrating and all that. Yeah, you're right. That's absolutely true. Excuse me. You're right. That's absolutely true. But there are those that will point that out. there are those that will say that yes, it's a great accomplishment that they made, that they achieved. That it's a great goal that they obtained and all that. But the asterisk that even Eric Bischoff would have to admit, has to be put there, is the fact that Nitro, throughout its entire existence, not once, as far as I know, not once was ever on TBS. Majority of its run was TNT. And that's it. No matter what night it was on, it was TNT. So even Eric Bischoff, and I say with all due respect to the guy, would have to acknowledge that yes, it's a great accomplishment that they made, but the asterisk is there because they did it on a different network that was not the network they started on originally. So yes, congratulations on surpassing Nitro and even Thunder overall on the Turner networks. Big props on that. But that big accomplishment, unfortunately, is going to have a little bit of an asterisk next to it because it wasn't on the initial network you started on. That's the only drawback. It wasn't on the initial network you started on. And again, people will say that's not a big deal as long as they made that goal happen. And I do agree. It shouldn't be a big deal. But like I said, there are those that look at the details that will point that out. They will point that out whether you or anybody else wants to admit it. Now, the question is, they had a good show. And I'm getting over a bit of an allergy cough, so I do apologize if I sound a little blah. But again, the question is now, can they keep the momentum up that they brought to the table last night when everybody pretty much said it felt like they felt, when a lot of people said, I'm trying to find the right word to say here, when everybody came out and said that they felt that old AEW feeling again when it came to that episode. Can they keep that up? That is the big question. Right now, Collision is going on because, like I said, because of the NBA playoffs. So the question is, can they keep the momentum up tonight with Collision, or are they going to just do it or is it just for this occasion, this monumental accomplishment that they did or that they achieved? And of course, amongst everything else that's been talked about yesterday and that they used to their advantage, was it just for that one night? Or is it just going to be a Dynamite thing going forward? Or is it going to be something that they can, like I said, continuing tonight with Collision as we speak, they can continue moving forward? Hopefully we'll have to see. We will have to see. But overall, again, big props to them for making this goal a reality. But the only issue is they have an asterisk next to it. The other issue is apparently, according to some, the viewership was not as good as it should be. You think for a big occasional moment like this, they might get decent numbers near the 1 million mark. According to one person, they barely got like 624,000, if you will, or 624K, if you will, watching. And I don't know if that's the overall number or that's just for a certain segment or so. But if it's the overall number, that's not good, especially if especially if this is supposed to be a big deal for them. But hopefully they can keep up the momentum going forward. Hopefully they can do it. And even if it's a Dynamite thing only, keeping the momentum going, especially with the way wrestling is right now, is probably the best thing for them to do. But again, big props to them for surpassing Nitro on the overall, Nitro and Thunder on the overall Turner networks. But again, unfortunately, we got to put an asterisk next to it because a lot of people will point out that, yeah, it's a big accomplishment they made, but they didn't do it on the initial network they debuted Dynamite on, and that was TNT. But again, congratulations. Sorry about that, but like I said, it's big. But like I said, in closing, congratulations for them making that goal, making that accomplishment. But again, unfortunately, Tony, I don't know if you're going to be listening. Unfortunately, we got to put an asterisk next to it because you didn't, because a lot of people, Tony, I say with all due respect, a lot of people will point out this detail. You didn't accomplish it, I should say. You didn't accomplish it on the initial network you started Dynamite on, that being TNT. But overall, congratulations. And let's hope, Tony, you can keep the momentum up. Because what people saw last night with Dynamite and them coming out and saying that felt like the old AEW feeling, that felt like the AEW that started out that they fell in love with. Tony, keep that momentum going. Keep it going and everything. Use any criticism that you might hear. Use that as motivation, being like, okay, you think we're not good? Here, we'll prove it wrong. Talk to the right people too. Get in contact with the right people to basically, make sure your product is, back to what fans fell in love with initially. And that's all I can say. But again, congratulations. Although in detail, people will put an asterisk next to it. But let me know what your thoughts are, guys. Sorry about that, but like I said, congratulations. Give me your thoughts, guys, on how you feel about this accomplishment. Do you agree that there needs to be a bit of an asterisk next to it, if you will? Do you agree with that, or do you feel like it doesn't really matter at all? Let me know down in the comment section, as well as in the live chat during the premiere. Also, like the video, ring the bell for notifications, subscribe to the channel, click on the links in the description to find my content. Also, you can find me at iTunes, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Spotify, Audible from Amazon, Overcast, Radio Public, anywhere there's a podcast, you will find mine there as well. You can find me at rumble.com at BW Roses, Odyssey.com at BW Roses-5, VENMO at BW Roses. You can find me at Divanart.com at BVW1979. You can also find me at inkbuddy.net at BW Roses. You can also find me at twitch.tv and at kick.com. You can find me at patreon.com at BW Roses. You can also find me and support me at Cash App and Venmo. You can also follow me over at Twitter, aka x.com at BW Roses, Blue Sky at BW Roses, and TikTok at BW Roses. But guys, give me your thoughts overall on Dynamite surpassing Nitro overall on the Turner networks. Do you think it does need an asterisk because it wasn't on the initial network that it started with, that being TNT, or do you think it doesn't matter overall? Let me know, and until then, I am out.